Welcome to Mystic Realms Recap. Links are in the description below. Please show some love of the author and me. On to the show. At the moment in the dock square, many alien races gathered here. At this time, Yun Qinghan, who was among the crowd, also changed his face. What happened? How did the Dark Elf's troops appear here? I saw those Dark Elf soldiers holding cutters and violently demolishing the hatches of many ships. What happened here? How did my ship get torn down? Shoo, watch out, those Dark Elves catch you. These Dark Elves seem to be looking for something. F***K, he drove lousy ship away. Among the crowd, an alien race stood up. The ship that was just driven away by the Dark Elves was a B-class ship that I had worked so hard to get. The crew members raised their guns and aimed at the Dark Elf captain. Oh? Is this your ship? Sorry, this ship has been requisitioned by our Dark Knight Empire. But don't worry, our Dark Knight Empire will give you 10,000 stars as compensation. As soon as these words came out, the alien race directly exploded. 10,000 star coins, how about sending beggars? Fire! The crew of the alien race immediately opened fire, and countless bullets were vented towards the Dark Elf captain. But just as the bullets came to Captain Dark Elf, the bullets hovered directly in the air. An azure magnetic shield appeared in front of everyone. Snap! The Dark Elf captain snapped his fingers, and the bullets hovering in front of him fell to the ground. Immediately afterwards, the Dark Elf captain made a gesture. Several Dark Elf warriors came to the captain twice. The next second, they picked up the firearms in their hands. Whoosh! 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 Several lasers hit the crew directly. Immediately afterwards, the lasers penetrated directly through the body armor of the crew members, and then penetrated their bodies. After the laser bullet penetrated the body of the crew, a scarlet hole was burned in the wall, directly behind them. Seeing this scene, the surrounding alien races immediately broke out in cold sweat. This equipment gap is really too big. The firearms in the hands of these crew members were fine against ordinary creatures, but in the face of the magnetic shields equipped by the Dark Elves, they turned into a pile of scrap metal. On the contrary, the new laser guns equipped by the Dark Elf troops, just one bullet is enough to penetrate them and the wall behind them. The second round of shooting begins. A large number of sailors fell like reaping wheat. The powerful firepower even spread to the surrounding crowd, and Yun Qinghan hid in the crowd. A laser bullet brushed past her, and she couldn't help but soften her legs. Is this the gap between the inland sea troops and them? For a time, the entire square has become purgatory. But in the face of such a scene, the Dark Elf captain showed a superior smile on his face. I repeat, we represent the great empire of the night. You despicable alien creatures, it is your honor that the ship can be requisitioned by the great empire of the night. Anyone who dares to stop us, those dead ants will be your fate. After all, the Dark Elf captain also pulled out the laser pistol from his waist. The atmosphere of the surrounding alien races did not dare to breathe. And Yun Qinghan was shivering while hiding among these alien races. At this moment, a soft sound caught everyone's attention. Everyone's eyes were focused on the place where the voice came from, and Yun Qinghan also looked over. When she saw something that made a sound, she couldn't help but widen her eyes. Because it was Su Yan's Hyperion that made the sound. The many Dark Elves who were preparing to forcibly break the hatch of the Hyperion also looked at each other in dismay. The hatch opened slowly, and when the hatch opened, everyone looked at the hatch of the Hyperion. But the cabin door was empty, so everyone couldn't help but wonder for a while. The Dark Elf captain also frowned slightly. What's the situation? Afterwards, several Dark Elf soldiers also glanced at each other. Immediately afterwards, they picked up the laser guns in their hands and aimed at the hatchway. Suddenly, the space distorted. A pilot appeared behind the Dark Elf soldier. Immediately afterwards, the Iron Pilot raised his sword and directly executed the Dark Elf soldier. Before the other Dark Elf soldiers could react, the pilot grabbed the laser gun in their hands. Whoosh! The laser gun hit a Dark Elf soldier directly in the head. Powerful laser bullets, even the armor on them cannot easily resist. They never imagined that they would die under the weapons of their own people. Immediately afterwards, another pilot picked up the dead Drow warrior's laser gun. At this time, even the Dark Elf captain found something wrong. Fire! Several Dark Elf warriors immediately aimed at one of the pilots. But then, the Iron pilot glanced at them and then disappeared directly in place. Seeing this scene, several Dark Elf warriors were dumbfounded. These guys actually have stealth methods, and the Dark Elf captain immediately shouted, "Equip thermal imaging scanning equipment." Many Dark Elf warriors who heard the command were also equipped with thermal imaging scanning equipment. However, when they turned on the thermal imaging scanning equipment, they could not help but feel a deep despair after seeing the scene in front of them. They have been surrounded by 1,000 pilots. 1,000 pilots also showed their stature when they saw that they were wearing thermal imaging scanning equipment. When they saw the appearance of 1,000 Iron pilots, everyone could not help but gasp. What kind of ghost army is this? When in the world did they show up nearby? Seeing such a large number of Iron pilots, the Dark Elf captain's face no longer had the calmness he had before. Fire! What are you still doing? The Dark Elf captain almost growled and gave the order to fire. Many Dark Elf warriors reacted from their horror at this time. A large number of laser bullets were released, and at this time, the pilots showed their true terrifying combat power. The holographic image was released, and in an instant, 2,000 Iron pilots appeared in everyone's field of vision. The next second, the pilots leaped like superhumans. The jets on the back are enough to allow them to fly around the complex terrain of the dock. The superb evasion skills of these Iron pilots make them seem like they are flying in the eyes of everyone. Those Dark Elf warriors watched the pilots flying between the buildings, and a sense of fear rose in their hearts. Who are these monsters? The surrounding alien races, after seeing the Iron pilots who are flying over the eaves. His eyes could not help but look at the boatmen of Vulcan. Could it be that this is a special force trained by Vulcan? Those Vulcan boatmen shook their heads. These flying over the eaves and walls are like superhuman warriors, and they don't look like Vulcans in appearance. And at this time, those Dark Elf warriors were going crazy. These pilots walk over the walls and use ships and surrounding buildings as shelter. Their bullets simply cannot land on them. Moreover, these guys can actually create holographic projections. Under the interference of these holographic projections, it is difficult for them to distinguish the projection and the body at all. Boom! Another shot was fired, and a pilot killed a Dark Elf warrior with a secondary pistol. After the other Dark Elf warriors saw this scene, they shot directly at the pilot like a frightened bird. But the next second, that pilot directly drives the phase shifter on the wrist. Brush! The pilot disappeared directly in place, and all the laser bullets fell directly into the air. But then, another pilot broke away from the phase shift. A fragmentation grenade was thrown directly at the center of several Dark Elf warriors. Boom! The fragmentation grenade exploded directly, and the next second, the pilot disappeared in place. The elusive Iron driver made the Dark Elf captain's scalp tingle. Whose troops are these ghost-like guys? Damn! If this continues, my troops will be exhausted by them sooner or later. The Dark Elf captain watched as the Dark Elf soldiers fell one after another, and panicked in his heart, but he quickly calmed down and saw him lift the tech watch in his hand. Activate the alloy armor immediately. Support is needed here. I repeat, immediately activate the alloy armor. Not long after, a landing ship in the sky slowly landed. After seeing this landing ship, the Dark Elf captain's face lit up with joy. Their support is finally here. The next second, the hatch of the landing ship opened, and several heavy armors made of alloys were seen falling from the sky. Boom! The first heavy armor landed, and a huge dent appeared on the metal floor of the dock. Immediately afterwards, other heavy armors also landed. Each heavy armor is equipped with 2 Gatling guns, and the armor is made of alloy. Even the bullets of the new laser guns are difficult to damage it. The heavy armor with a height of 3 meters, every time it appears on the battlefield, it will bring a nightmare experience to the enemy. This is one of the Dark Elf's trump cards, and the Dark Elf captain did not expect that he would actually use this heavy armor. At this time, Su Yan also returned to the dock with Lin Qingyue. When he saw the tragic battlefield in front of him, and the bodies of Dark Elf warriors scattered on the ground, Su Yan also showed a smile. These iron pilots really did not let him down. Sure enough, these Dark Elf warriors are not enough to look at in the face of the iron control of the fighting elite. As soon as these words came out, Yun Qinghan, who was not far away, also heard Su Yan's voice. Those ghost warriors, flying over the eaves and walking the walls like Superman, are actually Su Yan's crew? How is Su Yan possible? However, Yun Qinghan thought about it at random. Su Yan already had S-class ships. Is there anything he can't do? But at this moment, Yun Qinghan seemed to think of something, and hurriedly came to Su Yan. Su Yan, those soldiers are your people, right? Su Yan also directly admitted that after determining the ownership of these soldiers, Yun Qinghan also hurriedly reminded. Hurry up and let your troops withdraw. Those heavy armors are the siege weapons of the Dark Elves. No matter how strong your troops are, they are only mortal. Now it's too late to drive the spaceship back now. At this time, Yun Qinghan was also really thinking about Su Yan. Although I don't know where Su Yan recruited such a terrifying ghost force. But if these ghost troops are damaged here, Su Yan's strength will definitely be greatly reduced. At that time, let alone retreat, it is very likely that life will take place here. After all, those Dark Elf troops are official troops for real. But Su Yan also smiled faintly after hearing Yun Qinghan's advice. Mecha, my troops also have them. What? Hearing this sentence, Yun Qinghan was also stunned for a moment. Su Yan also has mecha? Before she could react, the elf heavy armor on the opposite side had already started to attack. 5 heavy armor, carrying 10 Gatling guns. Like a torrential rain of bullets, the bullets were released wildly around. A large number of bullets even landed on a ship, and the ship with slightly less armor turned into fireworks and exploded on the spot. And after those iron pilots saw the heavy armor on the opposite side, they immediately started the phase shift and moved to a safe position. Seeing those iron pilots retreating one after another, the Dark Elf captain also became arrogant again. Despicable bugs dare to attack the great soldiers of the Dark Knight Empire. It's time for you to taste our wrath. The Dark Elf captain waved his hand, and mercilessly ordered the heavy armor to destroy all the pilots. But at this time, those iron pilots seemed to have disappeared without a trace. Just when everyone was puzzled, the hatch of the White Knight opened. And the Dark Elf captain discovered that at the moment when the hatch of Bay opened, his sacred artifact detection instrument began to react violently. The relic detection instrument has responded. Then, the Dark Elf captain's eyes fell on the White Knight. The relic is on this ship. But at this moment, a mechanical figure appeared in front of him. Is this a heavy armor? Brush. Suddenly, a Titan appeared in the center of the dock using a phase dash. Immediately afterwards, several Titans rushed out of the White Knight. The powerful mechanical body, equipped with a large number of heavy weapons, stood in front of the heavy mecha of the Dark Elf with a height of up to 3 meters. At this time, one of the Titans spoke slowly. I'm not called a heavy mecha, we all have a collective name, that is, Titan. Brush. The Ronin Titan rushed up first, and before the Dark Elf's heavy mecha could react, he raised his sword and fell. Boom! The Gatling guns on both arms of the heavy mecha were directly cut off by the Ronin Titan. When the other Titans saw this, they quickly followed. The North Star rose into the sky, and the cluster missile directly hit a heavy armor. Compared to the Titans, these heavy armors are like toys and fragile. Seeing that one heavy armor after another was destroyed, Yun Qinghan was stunned. Is this the mecha that Su Yan was talking about? Target solved. The Ronin Titan put the blade back on its back. In front of it, the heavy armor of the Dark Elves has turned into a pile of scrap metal. The other Titans also divided up all the remaining heavy armor. The combat effectiveness of these heavy armors is far less than that of the Titans, and the number of Titans is far greater than these heavy armors. Seeing these Titans chop up the heavy armor of the Dark Elves like chopping melons and vegetables, everyone couldn't help but feel tight. What kind of terrifying mecha is this? You must know that the heavy armor of the Dark Elves is also a frightening existence on the battlefield. But here, there is no advantage at all. And at this time a roar sounded. While the Titans were dealing with the heavy armor, the Dark Elf captain also boarded the ship. The Dark Elf captain sitting in the middle of the ship couldn't help but feel a heartache when he saw that the heavy armor was dismantled into a pile of scrap iron. The cost of these heavy armor is not cheap. After being dismantled into scrap metal, after returning home, he will definitely be punished by the general. However, I still have a chance. As long as I destroy these iron lumps and get the holy relic in that ship, I still have a chance to make up for it. Thinking of this, the Dark Elf captain also waved his hand. Start the tracking missile, aim at those monsters on the ground, and smash them for me. But then, the Dark Elf captain seemed to think of something, and then added, be careful not to hurt the ships next to you. The Dark Elf warriors who received the order began to operate the ship's panels. The A-class firepower flagship Night Raid unfolded the muzzle on the deck, and a batch of missiles released. But at this moment, the Titan Ion rushed out, and the vortex shield rose. At this moment, those missiles were actually shrouded in the vortex shield, all hovering in the air. The next second, the Titan Ion directly threw those missiles out of the vortex shield. Rumbling. The missiles landed directly on the Night Assault's armor, illuminating a burst of fire. Seeing this scene, the Dark Elves were also stunned. What is this operation? The missile on the ship was actually bounced back? The Dark Elf captain punched the gauntlet on the seat. Damn it! If only these armors were their own. Even the heavy armored armors within the Dark Elf army are not as complete as these armors, and they still possess such powerful combat power. However, Dark Elves cannot operate even if they have Titans. Titans must be piloted by elite human warriors, also known as pilots. Only when the pilot and the Titan combine with each other, can they exert 100% of their combat effectiveness. You bastards, we are A-class firepower ships, smash them to pieces for me? This firepower, are you tickling them? Listening to the roar of the Dark Elf captain, several Dark Elves operating the firepower system were also embarrassed. They also know that they are fire ships, but once their firepower is fully opened, it is enough to raise the entire dock to the ground. But what they want is still in that cargo ship. Once the firepower is fully on and the sacred relic is destroyed, they will endure more than just a scolding. Thinking of this, several Dark Elves in charge of the firepower system are also hesitant to turn on the firepower. But at this time, they could no longer hesitate. Su Yan has returned to the Hyperion, and now it's his attack round. Seeing the Hyperion lift off, the White Knight also slowly lifted off. After seeing the White Knight lift off, the Dark Elf captain couldn't sit still. The relic is still in that cargo ship. But at this time, the Hyperion and the White Knight had already reached the position of the atmosphere. The holy relic is in that cargo ship, what are you still doing? Hurry up and catch up. As soon as these words came out, the Dark Elf fleet also attacked the White Knight. At this time, the Hyperion decisively launched an attack. The laser array burst out with amazing firepower. A frigate immediately turned into a gorgeous fireworks and fell into the sky. After feeling the terrifying firepower of the Hyperion, the Dark Elf captain panicked. The firepower of this S-class ship is so powerful. No, this S-class ship has to be dealt with first. That cargo ship has no means of attack. As long as the S-class ship is dealt with first, the cargo ship loaded with the holy relic will naturally be theirs. Thinking of this, the Dark Elf captain is also commanding the fleet. Turn the direction, adjust the target, and smash that S-class ship first. At this moment, all ships turned their guns to Su Yan's Hyperion. In the next second, numerous missiles and laser cannons attacked Su Yan. This time, after no worries, the firepower ship Night Raid finally exerted its full firepower. The artillery fire hit the Hyperion like a storm. Everyone in the dock couldn't help swallowing when they saw the cannon fire in the sky. If it was them, it is estimated that after this round of bombardment, not even scum will be left. Yun Qinghan was also nervous. Even Su Yan's S-class ships could really survive under such firepower? In the Hyperion, Su Yan looked at the slowly approaching artillery and calmly pressed a button. Space warp begins. Brush. In the next second, something that stunned everyone happened. Su Yan's Hyperion disappeared directly from everyone's sight. Disappeared? The endless artillery fell directly into the air, and the huge waves of flame spread. Even the Dark Elf captain couldn't help standing up. How is that possible? Where did the others go? But the next second, the radar showed that behind their fleet, a huge figure appeared. The Hyperion did not know when, but actually came behind them. And everyone on the dock was stunned, because they saw the Hyperion appearing like a ghost behind the Dark Elf fleet. Yamato cannon ready. The Hyperion turned on the Yamato cannon immediately after the space transition. The violent energy is concentrated in the muzzle of the bow. An extremely terrifying coercion began to condense in the sky. Boom! I saw a beam of light containing enormous energy, directly penetrating the night raid. The night raid was directly hit hard, but the two frigates ahead of her were not so lucky. The two frigates exploded directly, and the night raid lost its power and fell directly into the dock. Damn! How could I be defeated here? The Dark Elf captain crawled out of the ruins of the ship. But at this time, he looked up at the sky, and a huge fleet was attacking mightily. It's Vulcan's fleet. At this time, someone also saw the logo on the fleet, which was the fleet of Vulcan. When Su Yan saw Vulcan's fleet, he couldn't help frowning. The fleet in front of them has an A-class flagship, 3 A-class frigates, and 10 C-class fire frigates behind it. Such an armed force seems to be the main fleet of Lord Vulcan. Did what happened here catch the attention of the Vulcan Lord after all? I just don't know what the Vulcan Lord's attitude is towards him. If he regarded himself as a hostile state, the Hyperion could easily escape the encirclement, but not necessarily the White Knight. Bai Ying is now stationed on the White Knight, and there are dozens of Titans. Once the White Knight number is lost, it will definitely be a heavy blow for me. Just when Su Yan didn't know whether Lord Vulcan was friend or foe. Rumbling. A series of artillery roars sounded. The Vulcan fleet was decisively fired, and a large number of missile artillery attacked the Dark Elf fleet. A great deal of artillery fire was released on the Dark Elf ships. Those ships lost command of their flagships, like flies without heads. Faced with a Vulcan fleet far superior to theirs in firepower and numbers, the Dark Elf's fleet was simply powerless to fight back. Boom! 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 One ship after another crashed down. The Dark Elf captain was on the ground, seeing the ships under his command explode one after another, and the anger in his eyes almost burst out. Damn! Untouchables of Vulcan, what are you doing? Are you planning to go to war with our Dark Knight Empire? But at this moment, the Dark Elf captain saw several dark shadows appearing on the ground under his feet. I saw several Titans come to him, and a few iron pilots drilled out of the Titans. Several guns were aimed at him. The threat of death came to mind instantly, and at this moment, the pride and self-esteem of the Dark Elves disappeared. Soon, many Dark Elf ships also fell one after another. The Vulcan fleet sent a communication request, expressing a friendly signal to Su Yan. Therefore, Su Yan also relanded the Hyperion and the White Knight in the dock. With the opening of the hatch, Su Yan also stepped out of the Hyperion. The Vulcan Star Fleet's flagship Vulcan also landed in the dock at this moment. Lord Vulcan came out from the Vulcan. He went straight to Su Yan and extended his right hand to Su Yan. Thank you for helping us defeat these thugs, and on behalf of Vulcan, I thank you for your action. Seeing this, Su Yan also stretched out his hand, and the two shook hands. At this time, Su Yan can basically be sure that the target of these Dark Elves is likely to be the core of the Zerg altar in the White Knight. But at this time, Su Yan couldn't say that these dark elf fleets were coming for him. The Vulcan Lord glanced at the heavily damaged dock, and then said to all the alien races present, "Everyone, I'm sorry for the unfair treatment you have received. Here, as the Lord of Vulcan, I declare that as long as it is a customer who has suffered losses in this dock, we Vulcan can compensate according to the price. If someone's ship is damaged because of this, we can provide free repair services. At the same time, we will also give each person a certain amount of star compensation. I hope you will support our Vulcan business more." After hearing these words, those alien races who suffered losses immediately became excited. And such a good thing? Su Yan glanced at Lord Vulcan, and it was indeed the best way to handle this matter. It would be a good redemption for Vulcan's reputation if it could make up for the losses of these customers with star coins. For a craftsman planet like Vulcan, the most important thing is reputation and word of mouth. These things are accumulated by Vulcan star, and if it can be recovered with star coins, this is already the best result. Immediately afterwards, the Lord of Vulcan said to Su Yan, "This distinguished guest, in order to thank you for helping us Vulcan, this is a membership card of the Craftsman Association. With the secondary card, you can enjoy a 50% discount on any planetary dock that joins the Artisan Association. In addition, we will maintain your ships and mechas at no cost. I hope you are satisfied. And such a good thing?" Lord Vulcan glanced at Su Yan's ship. S-class ships, this human being can own an S-class ship at a young age? And according to the influence transmitted back by the previous boatman, he not only has a ghost army with extremely powerful combat power in his hands, its ships are also loaded with extremely powerful combat armors, and the combat effectiveness of those combat armors is even more terrifying. All of these are enough to show his strength. With time, he will definitely be able to make a name for himself in the Sea of Stars. Instead of adding icing on the cake at that time, it is better to give help now. Su Yan took the Craftsman Association membership card from Lord Vulcan. Don't underestimate the 50% discount. The maintenance cost of a fleet can be saved at least 1 million stars after a 50% discount. This gift is quite expensive. After seeing Su Yan accepting the membership card, Lord Vulcan also looked at the Dark Elf captain. At this time, the Dark Elf captain was still stubborn. "Despicable Vulcan, how dare you be the enemy of our Dark Knight Empire? Our Dark Knight Empire knows your behavior and will definitely raise your Vulcan to the ground." As soon as these words came out, the Vulcan Lord looked at the Dark Elf Lord, and a trace of killing intent flashed in his eyes. "No? How do they know? If you die here too, who can prove that your fleet was destroyed by me?" As soon as these words came out, the Dark Elf captain was also stunned. Lord Vulcan took out a laser gun from his waist and aimed it at Captain Dark Elf. After a gunshot, the Dark Elf captain also fell to the ground weakly. Afterwards, the Vulcan Lord said lightly, "Melt the fleet of these Dark Elves into steel, and throw their corpse capital into the furnace to burn to ashes." Lord Vulcan looked at the other people. He was not afraid that these people would leak the matter here. It is difficult for these alien races to enter the territory of the Dark Elf race. What's more, the Dark Elves are brutal, arrogant, and suspicious. It is estimated that the information will not be delivered by then, and their lives will not be guaranteed. Even if the Dark Elves knew, they would not dare to attack Vulcan in a big way. The Inner Sea has the rules of the Inner Sea, and the Outer Sea also has the rules of the Outer Sea. Now that the situation in the Inner Sea is so tense, he does not believe that the Dark Elves will send a large force to Vulcan. If the Dark Elf dared, he backhanded and joined an alliance. In this case, the Dark Elves can't help him. It's a big deal to lose a little customer source, and the Lord of Vulcan Star has already prepared for his own back way after he made his move. "This distinguished guest, go to my lord's hall to rest for a while. Also, I have something to tell you. I believe you will be interested in this after you know it." Lord Vulcan is also very enthusiastic about this young man with high potential. Lord Vulcan has seen too many humans rushing to the Sea of Stars. Although the human race has entered the Star Sea not long ago, they are the race with the greatest potential that the Vulcan Lord has ever seen. It was only less than 1,000 years after stepping into Shanghai that the Sun Alliance was built, and it also had its own place in Shanghai. Su Yan saw that it would take some time for his ship to be repaired, so he followed Lord Vulcan to the Lord's Hall. I now have a super soldier serum and a Black Panther armor. Even if there is any danger, it has the power to protect itself. I'm going to. As soon as Lin Qingyue heard that Su Yan was going to the Lord's Hall, she followed after him. As for Bai Ying, her identity made it inconvenient for her to show her face. Therefore, Bai Ying also sticks to the White Knight, guarding the core of the Zerg altar from being stolen. Coming to the Lord's Hall, Su Yan also saw what is called luxury. The entire body of the Lord's Hall is made of a special alloy. These colored alloys are artistically crafted by the artist. Immediately afterwards, enter the interior of the Lord Halls. The interiors of these Lord Halls are even more brilliant. Unknown luminous minerals make up the crystal chandelier, and the floor is made of jade. Su Yan and Lin Qingyue sat on the sofa in the reception room, and the servants in the Lord's Hall automatically poured twice the mellow Blue Star coffee for them. And Lin Qingyue took a sip of coffee and said softly, "This place is a little more luxurious than my home." Su Yan, you call this luxurious? Before Lin Qingyue could continue to speak, Lord Vulcan came over with an astrolabe. After seeing this astrolabe, Su Yan also glanced at Lord Vulcan with interest. The general astrolabe is a prop that is only used to record the coordinates of a certain sea of stars. There are many unknown ships and unknown planets in the star sea, and the coordinates of these ships and planets are often lost in the form of astrolabes. These coordinates are full of opportunities and dangers, and many interstellar voyagers will also go for a gamble in order to quickly accumulate wealth. The nature of Shanghai coordinates is no different from gambling. Lord, what are you doing? Su Yan glanced at the astrolabe. Is the Lord Vulcan planning to let himself explore the coordinates of a certain location? This is a dangerous thing, and if it was really the case, Su Yan would definitely refuse without hesitation. At this time, the Lord of Vulcan also seemed to see the vigilance in Su Yan's eyes. Afterwards, the Vulcan Lord immediately explained, "Just a few hours ago, our Vulcan reconnaissance satellite received a series of distress signals from humans. This human was trapped in the shining galaxy's Machi and sent a signal from Machi. As the Lord of Vulcan Star, I can't leave easily, and you just came to Vulcan Star. This astrolabe records the coordinates of the last time he sent a signal. Maybe you can choose to take a look when you pass by the radiant galaxy next." Speaking of which, Lord Vulcan also handed the astrolabe to Su Yan. Su Yan took the astrolabe suspiciously, and after opening the astrolabe, his face changed. It is indeed a human distress signal, and the source of the signal is indeed the Mook star from the radiant galaxy, but the most important thing is that Moco is a planet with almost zero risk factor. Except for the occasional sandstorms that blow up on Moco, it's almost zero threat. Because it is a desert terrain, even creatures are rare on that planet. Su Yan is very suspicious. How did these guys land on the Mook star? After thinking for a while, Su Yan also put up the astrolabe. After all, Su Yan's next destination is Moco in the radiant galaxy. He didn't intend to stop at Moco too much, but now he has to. After all, they are from the same clan. Although Su Yan is not a good person, he will not die. After dozens of hours of refurbishment, the Hyperion and White Knight were also well maintained and repaired. Moreover, under Su Yan's hard work, he used the wreckage of the night raid he shot down to exchange a lot of resources from the Vulcan Lord. At least for a short time, he can use the Yamato cannon recklessly again. Sitting on the command seat on the bridge, Su Yan opened the operation panel. The ship slowly left Vulcan's dock. When the fiery red planet turned into a palm-sized planet in his field of vision, Su Yan directly pulled out the operation panel and started to go to the next planet. Target setting, shining galaxy Moco star. Preparing for space transition. Brush. With a flash of light, the Hyperion and White Knight jumped toward the third galaxy, the radiant galaxy. In a short time, they arrived near the shining galaxy Moco. At the center of the radiant galaxy is a star codenamed Brilliant, which is nearing the end of its lifespan. Dim stars simply cannot provide enough heat to the surrounding planets. Therefore, the 3 planets of the Radiance Galaxy are all desolate and inhabited dead planets. Su Yan came to the vicinity of Moco and turned on the ship's communication channel. Finally, he received an extremely weak distress signal. "Here are, humans, ships, we need help. This, human Qinghe, our ships are seriously damaged. This helps." Su Yan frowned slightly, and a storm broke out on the surface of Moco. These storms lift up grit on the ground, which contains large amounts of magnetic ore. The chaotic magnetic field generated by the magnetic ore made him unable to hear what the distress signal was expressing at all. The damn weather. And Su Yan, who was cursing, didn't notice at all. When Lin Qingyue next to her heard the word Qinghe, she couldn't help frowning slightly. If you're enjoying my content, please consider donating a coffee. Or checking out my shirts on TeePublic. What's wrong? At this time, Su Yan also discovered Lin Qingyue's strangeness. This simple guy often writes his emotions on his face. Su Yan often knows what she is thinking by looking at her expressions. And Lin Qingyue's face rarely showed a touch of sadness, a little homesick. "I sneaked out, the second brother doesn't know yet. The second brother is still looking for me. If the elder brother knew that he had lost me, he would definitely scold the second brother to death." Hearing this sentence, Su Yan also smiled. The second brother she mentioned, Moon Lord Lin Qinghe, was issuing bounties everywhere. "As long as I can find Lin Qingyue, I am willing to pay a reward of 1 million stars." However, Lin Qinghe probably never thought that the younger sister Lin Qingyue he was looking for was no longer in the solar system. And Su Yan also said at this time, "The Golden Galaxy has the largest starport in the outer sea, and then you can contact your family there and take you back." Hearing this sentence, Lin Qingyue puffed up her face in dissatisfaction. "Do you want to throw me down that much? Otherwise, haven't you had enough of me bullying you every day?" Having said that, Lin Qingyue glanced at Su Yan. Although this bad guy frightened himself every day, he often used his black gold card to buy things. But after this period of interstellar travel, she found that traveling with Su Yan wasn't bad, although full of danger. As long as he is by Su Yan's side, he always handles things perfectly in unexpected ways. Isn't this kind of safe and exciting interstellar voyage what you are after? Thinking of this, Lin Qingyue also bit the bullet and said, "If I leave, who will pay you in the future?" When Su Yan heard this sentence, she also looked at Lin Qingyue with a playful look in her eyes. "You can keep your money and go back." Hearing this sentence, Lin Qingyue frowned slightly. What he said seemed to make sense. Seeing that Lin Qingyue seemed to be really thinking about what she just said, Su Yan couldn't help laughing. "There are still 2 galaxies away from the Golden Galaxy, you should save it." At this moment, the storm on the surface of Moco also ceased. Su Yan turned on the ship's message receiver again, and began to receive distress messages from the surface of Moco. At this time, he finally determined the specific coordinates. "Here is the Sun Alliance human Qinghe fleet. Our ships are seriously damaged. If anyone receives this information, please come to support us. We need help." "The Qinghe fleet of the Sun Alliance?" After hearing the news, Su Yan looked at Lin Qingyue beside him. At this moment, Lin Qingyue's face was pale, because his elder brother Lin Beihe was the lord of Qinghe Star. Qinghe Xing is a member of the Sun Alliance, which means that the fleet that died is likely to be her eldest brother's fleet. At this time, Su Yan also understood Lin Qingyue's worries. After all, it's about her relatives. "I have determined the specific coordinates, and I will be there in 5 minutes. Don't worry." Su Yan also comforted. Lin Qingyue nodded, but her hands were obviously shaking. Seeing this, Su Yan also started the ship's engine and headed towards the coordinates sent by the rescue signal. The Hyperion arrived at the signal coordinates, and when they arrived at the signal coordinates, their faces sank. "I saw a large number of ships falling into the sand dunes, many of which have been swallowed up by the sand dunes. On the outside of these ships, the logo of the Qinghe Star of the Sun Alliance is being painted. This is even more certain, This is the fleet of the Sun Alliance, Qinghe Star. That's my eldest brother's flagship. After seeing the large A-class flagship, Qingyue, ship in the center of many ships, Lin Qingyue's tears couldn't stop flowing. At the beginning, the flagship was not called Qingyue, but Qinghe. After Lin Qingyue was born, the elder brother Lin Beihe waved his hand and changed his flagship to Blue Moon. At the beginning, the elder brother Lin Beihe had a quarrel with his father. The Qingyue is a large ship carrying 3 generations of the Lin family. Although it is an A-class ship, its size is only slightly inferior to that of the Hyperion after the modification. Su Yan, please, go down and have a look. My eldest brother may still be alive. Even if he dies, I will go back with his body. As soon as these words came out, Lin Qingyue almost begged Su Yan. Su Yan did not speak, and directly operated the Hyperion to land on a dune. After the hatch opened, Lin Qingyue rushed out immediately. It was normal, she only dared to get out of the cabin by hiding behind Su Yan's back. Seeing this, Su Yan also waved, and several predator followed directly. Afterwards, Su Yan had the pilot stationed on the ship. As for the White Knight, Su Yan did not let it land. When the Titan is needed, the White Knight can be dropped in the air at any time. Su Yan stepped on the surface of Moco, and the system also popped up automatically at this time. Check-in location detected, Moco Star. Do you want to sign in? Sign in? Congratulations, you have successfully obtained 100 Viking armors and 100 mechanical priests. After Su Yan saw these rewards, her eyes narrowed slightly. Although the number of rewards this time is small, the victory is excellent. The Viking armor is now ready in the Hyperion. 100 mechanical priests are sleeping in the laboratory of the Hyperion at the moment. The system automatically placed these Vikings and mechanical priests on the Hyperion. However, Su Yan at this time has no time to take care of these Viking fighters and mechanical priests. Su Yan followed Lin Qingyue directly, even though Moco was a planet with almost zero risk factor. But after seeing the tragic state of those ships, Su Yan felt that the planet was not as simple as she imagined. There are hundreds of millions of events happening every day. Perhaps a mutation that he did not know about had already occurred on this Moco Star. Under the escort of the Predator, Lin Qingyue quickly came to the place where the Qinghe fleet fell. Facing the many crashed ships, Lin Qingyue ran directly towards the flagship of the Qingyue at the center. Su Yan followed behind, looking at these fallen ships. Su Yan's eyes narrowed slightly. Strangely, there is not much damage on the surface of these ships, and it seems that they landed on this planet because of insufficient energy. However, some ships have extrusion marks on the surface, as if they were pulled down by some monster. It seems that something has really changed in Moco. After seeing these fallen ships, Su Yan also had a bad premonition in his heart. Su Yan instructs the Predator to investigate the surrounding environment, and if there is any change, he must notify himself. Afterwards, Su Yan also walked towards the fallen ship Qingyue. The size of the Qingyue ship is very large, and such a ship is enough for the people on the ship to sail in the Star Sea for a long time. Su Yan walked into the interior of the ship, and Lin Qingyue had disappeared at this moment. Fortunately, there is a Predator following her, so she won't be lost. According to the signal guided by the Predator, Su Yan came all the way to the bridge. After walking into the bridge, you can see that the bridge is empty. And Lin Qingyue was frantically operating the ship panel, looking for the ship log. Even now Lin Qingyue is very worried about the safety of her eldest brother. But so far, they have not found any dead bodies among the ships. That said, there is a good chance that the crew of this fleet is still alive. At this time, the ship log is particularly important. They can use the log to investigate what happened on the ship. Soon, Lin Qingyue was also the ship log of the investigation department. 6122 Shanghai era, on May 28, our ship was heading towards Moco. Shanghai era 6122, June 23, our ship was attacked by Blackstone pirates. These pirates are really haunted. Shanghai era 6122, June 25, these damn pirates actually united, our ship couldn't support it, and could only be forced to make a space transition. Shanghai Era 6122, June 26. The good news is that we successfully launched the space jump. The bad news is that our ship's energy system was destroyed and we had to make a forced landing. In 6122 of the Shanghai Era, on July 1st, we successfully reached the Moco planet. We will recover the losses caused by those goddamn space pirates one day sooner or later. At this point, the ship's log stopped abruptly. That is to say, the day the ship arrived at Moco, it encountered an accident. Originally, the damage to the ships was very serious, and with the influence of unknown factors on the Moco planet, these ships became what they are now. But what did they encounter? There are dozens of ships here, and the crew alone has as many as tens of thousands of people. It is impossible for tens of thousands of people to disappear on this planet out of thin air. The distress signal is still running, which shows that he still has the power to send a signal before he encounters danger. Lin Qingyue bit her lip lightly, and her heart was also extremely tormented. In the family, the two older brothers are the people who love her the most. In order to prevent her from getting involved in the dangerous Shanghai, the elder brother Lin Beiha often went out to fight, and every time he came back, he basically suffered more injuries. The second elder brother Lin Xinghe, as the Moon Lord, communicated back and forth between the Lin family and the Sun Alliance. In order not to make Lin Qingyue suffer, the two brothers used their shoulders to support the entire Lin family. It is because of this that Lin Qingyue can be so innocent. But now, Lin Qingyue looked at the ship log and saw that something happened to her eldest brother, but she couldn't do anything here. Just then, a message popped up from Su Yan's tech watch. Predator, report to the captain, we found that a large biological source is approaching. Please return to the ship quickly. Large biological source? Su Yan frowned, then directly pulled Lin Qingyue and rushed out of the ship. Since the Predator has informed him, this creature must be huge. You must quickly return to the ship. In the interstellar voyage, if you encounter any danger, it is right to run to the ship. Rumbling. Just as they stepped into the blue moon, the entire desert began to tremble. Su Yan felt as if some behemoth was rushing out of the ground. After feeling the danger, Su Yan decisively opened the Black Panther armor. The strength and speed increased greatly, and then Su Yan picked up Lin Qingyue and jumped up. Wow! A sharp tooth protruded from the ground, and Su Yan quickly returned to the Hyperion without looking back. The Hyperion rose into the air, and all the predators also returned to the ship. When the Hyperion slowly lifted off, Su Yan finally saw what the so-called giant creature was. A sandworm opened its bloody mouth and swallowed a ship. Tens of thousands of sharp teeth are entrenched in its mouth like serrations. This abyss mouth is more than several hundred meters in diameter, and it can easily swallow a frigate. Seeing such a huge sandworm, even Su Yan's eyes flashed with surprise. When will there be such terrifying creatures on the Moco planet? Could the disappearance of the Qinghe fleet have something to do with this giant sandworm? Rumbling. After the giant sandworm devoured a ship, it also retracted to the ground again. Its huge body is like a giant subway, moving in the underground of Moco. Su Yan frowned slightly and decisively activated the ship's scanning function. Maybe track down this sandworm and find those missing crew members. This sandworm is definitely not the Aborigines of Moco. Such a huge body will have to evolve for at least 10,000 years before it is possible to give birth to this giant beast. Prior to this, Moco had been rated as one of the safe planets. Not right. The Hyperion followed the sandworm. Not long after, the Hyperion saw a huge pyramid slowly rising on the horizon. Pyramid? How could such a structure exist on the surface of Mocos? However, what shocked Su Yan even more is yet to come. The detection radar of the Hyperion shows that there is more than one giant sandworm at work beneath this massive pyramid. Several sandworms came from all directions, and they had only one destination, and that was the pyramid in front of them. Also, a few sandworms started from the bottom of the pyramid and ran in other directions. What the hell is this pyramid? The giant sandworms in front of them are like hard-working ants, transporting their spoils into this pyramid. While Su Yan was still in a state of doubt, the Hyperion issued a warning. Warning, the ship has been locked. I saw dozens of cannons rise on the surface of the pyramid on the opposite side. After seeing these forts, Su Yan's eyes flashed with surprise. Sure enough, these giant sandworms are artificial products. But at this time, the fort on the pyramid has launched an attack. A large amount of artillery fire was ejected from the fort, and it landed on the Hyperion. For a time, artillery fire continued. However, these artillery fires were all resisted by the defense matrix of the Hyperion. Inside the pyramid, several dark elves stared at the monitoring screen. After seeing the astonishing defense of the Hyperion, those dark elves could not help frowning. "Doctor, our artillery can't penetrate the target's armor at all." Hearing this sentence, a dark elf wearing a white coat squinted at the Hyperion in the surveillance screen. After seeing the astonishing defensive power of the Hyperion, the dark elf also frowned slightly. "Damn. How could an S-class ship land on this planet? Put those cannons away, those cannons are of no use to it at all. Contact the mother nest and let those giant sandworms resist this ship." The dark elf in the white coat narrowed his eyes. He didn't expect their laboratory to be discovered so quickly. However, the final experiment is about to be completed. At that time, as long as the important information is transferred away, the laboratory will just dig out the Alliance personnel. Seeing that the artillery fire was useless for the Hyperion, the artillery operators in the pyramid also put away the artillery facilities. Seeing this, Su Yan was even more certain that this pyramid must be a man-made building. But at this moment, a change appeared on Su Yan's radar. Rumbling. The familiar sound reappeared. The Hyperion's radar showed that several sandworms were rushing out of the ground. Seeing this, Su Yan decisively let the Hyperion lift off. But the next second, these sandworms rushed out of the ground. The huge figure carried the abyss mouth and attacked the Hyperion. Su Yan looked indifferent and pressed the button directly. Space jump. Whoosh. The Hyperion disappeared directly in place, and the sandworm, which was ready to go, flew into the air. But then, the Hyperion appeared 10,000 meters above the sky. Su Yan looked at the giant sandworms on the ground, like a huge wave surrounding the pyramid, and couldn't help frowning slightly. It seems that the guys in the pyramid do not want them to be close to the pyramid. "I want to see what the hell is in your pyramid. Activate the fusion warhead." Su Yan pressed the attack button directly. The Hyperion began to lift off slowly, and above the high-altitude orbit, the Hyperion began to aim at the giant sandworms around the pyramid. Whoosh! The first fusion warhead was launched. Immediately afterwards, the fusion warhead flew towards the giant sandworm. When the giant sandworm on the opposite side saw the flying object, the first reaction was to rush over and swallow the fusion warhead directly. But in the next second, the fusion warhead exploded inside the giant sandworm. Boom! A huge mushroom cloud exploded from the sandworm's body, and the giant sandworm that swallowed the fusion warhead instantly turned into fragments. And the few sandworms next to it were also hit a lot. A large amount of dust was thrown up, and the entire pyramid began to shake. Seeing the surveillance footage, the giant sandworm was directly blown into pieces, and several dark elves couldn't help but break out in cold sweat. If they read correctly, that missile is a tactical nuclear weapon. What is the origin of this ship? The defense can be called a fortress, and there is even an attack method, such as tactical nuclear weapons. Even the dark elf in the white coat felt tight at the moment. This guy's backing is a bit tough. Boom! The next second, a huge noise hit. The entire laboratory roared, and the second fission warhead was fired. For a time, two huge deep pits appeared in the desert around the pyramid. The two fission warheads were carefully calculated to avoid the pyramid perfectly, but the surrounding sandworms are not so lucky, and the unlucky ones are directly blown into pieces, and there is no whole body. Is the attack over? Do not. Activating Viking Fighter. A large number of Viking fighters flew out from the interior of the Hyperion, and the Viking fighters with powerful firepower began to destroy the turrets around the pyramid. I saw that the Viking fighters fired a large number of missiles, and these missiles landed on the turrets with precision. With the deafening bombing sound, one fort after another was destroyed. In the pyramid, alarm bells are ringing. Seeing that one fort after another was paralyzed, the expressions of many dark elves also changed. The dark elf in the white coat frowned even more. Damn, the firepower of these fighters is too strong, and the firepower of our laboratory is simply not enough to compete with them. Just then, the last battery was destroyed. A dark elf also had a panicked expression on his face. "Doctor, our battery has all been destroyed." Hearing this sentence, the dark elf in the white coat also said coldly, "You don't need to say it, I'm not blind. It's too late to transfer the things in the laboratory here. This ship is obviously aimed at us. Prepare to release those Zerg warriors, never let them get close to the laboratory. You guys, transfer the data with me, these Zerg research data must not fall into the hands of the Alliance." After all, the dark elf in the white coat also quickly left the command center. Several other dark elves followed immediately. In the current pyramid prison, thousands of human crew members are held here like livestock. One of the crew members felt the vibration of the pyramid, and there was a hint of hope on his face. "Captain, it seems that someone is attacking the pyramid, we are saved. What are you happy about? If those guys outside destroy the pyramid, we have to be buried alive. It is estimated that it is a ship sent by the Alliance. They are afraid that they will raise this place to the ground. We can't escape, and we can't do anything." Several crew members sighed, compared to the ground raid. Air fleet bombing is undoubtedly the most effective means. During this time, they also understood what the hell these dark elves were doing. If the fleets outside knew what this dark elf laboratory was doing, they would definitely bomb it, without hesitation. Thinking of this, the eyes of many crew members also lost their light. One of the crew members scolded angrily, "Damn it, just die. It's better than being captured and transformed into an inhuman monster." In the corner of the prison, Lin Beha took out a photo from his arms. It was Lin Qingyue in the photo. Looking at the relatives in the photo, Lin Beha also sighed deeply. After a round of bombing, all the forts of the pyramid were destroyed. The traces of artillery fire on the pyramid, as well as the huge craters around it, are enough to illustrate the formidable firepower of the Hyperion. Su Yan drove the Hyperion ship close to the pyramid. But this time the pyramid did not have any countermeasures. Seeing this, Su Yan also directly commanded the Predator and the pilot to land at the same time. 500 iron warriors and 500 iron pilots entered the interior of the pyramid respectively. On the other hand, Su Yan did not leave the Hyperion ship. Through the equipment on the Predator and the pilot, he was able to see the inside of the pyramid on the ship. After confirming that there is an unknown enemy in this pyramid, wouldn't it give the enemy a chance to capture the thief and the king first? Through the equipment on the Predator and the pilot, Su Yan also saw clearly the inner structure of the pyramid. Entering the interior of the pyramid from the gate, the walls inside the pyramid are all made of steel. The inside of the pyramid is full of traces of technology. This made Su Yan even more certain that in this pyramid, there must be troops of other races here to study unspeakable things. Moreover, those giant sandworms outside are obviously controlled by the insiders of this pyramid. Maybe the surviving crew members of the Qinghe fleet were also caught here by them. Among those ships, he did not find the bodies of any crew members. Then there is only one possibility, that they were taken away. And the pyramid in front of them is likely to be where they were imprisoned. This is also the reason why Su Yan chose to infiltrate, rather than direct orbital bombardment with fusion warheads. The Predators and pilots soon infiltrated the interior of the pyramid. With the continuous deepening, Su Yan also frowned slightly. Signs of the Dark Elves. This is actually the laboratory of the Dark Elves? They set up such a laboratory on this planet that doesn't poop. Are they going to do some shameful deeds? Su Yan saw the Dark Elf logo printed on some instruments, and immediately understood who the owner of this laboratory was. Not long after, a pilot sent a message. Pilot, report to the captain, found a prison containing thousands of human beings, do you want to rescue it? Thousands of humans? After seeing the news, Su-yan's eyes also brightened. When he switched on the pilot's helmet, thousands of uniformed human crew members appeared in his field of vision. And when Lin Qingyue saw the human crew on the screen, she immediately recognized it. These people are the crew of the Qinghe fleet. At this moment, Lin Qingyue also saw Lin Beihe in the corner at a glance. The moment she saw Lin Beihe, the big stone in Lin Qingyue's heart also fell to the ground. Her tense nerves were completely relaxed at this moment. Seeing this, Su-yan also smiled slightly, notified the other soldiers that these crew members must be escorted out safely. Receive. The iron pilot looked at the prison in front of him, and then drew the pulse knife from behind. The pulse knife was directly inserted into the ground by the pilot, and the pulse knife was triggered, and the surrounding enemies instantly appeared on the screen of the pilot's helmet. The next second, the iron pilot pulled out his pistol and released a holographic phantom. At this time, several Dark Elf warriors were also human crew members guarding the prison with firearms. I don't know what's going on outside. What happens has nothing to do with us, just stand on our post. I really don't know what to do with these human monkeys, just kill them all? One of the Dark Elf warriors looked at the crew of the same Qinghe fleet, and his eyes were full of contempt and disdain. And another Dark Elf warrior yawned. These are precious experimental materials for the doctor, and it's not your turn to deal with them. As soon as the voice fell, a laser bullet directly penetrated the head of the Dark Elf warrior. The other Dark Elf warriors suddenly became alert. The next second, the pilot appeared on the ceiling, and the laser pistol in his hand aimed at a Dark Elf warrior without hesitation. Boom! A gunshot rang out, and the Dark Elf warrior fell to the ground. The other Dark Elf warriors immediately aimed at the pilot, but the pilot was unafraid of the multitude of muzzles. The A barrier appeared in front of him, and a large number of bullets were released on the A barrier, causing no damage to the pilot, and the pilot took out a stimulant from the backpack at his waist. The stimulant potion was injected into the body, and at this moment, the speed of the iron driver was greatly increased. I saw the iron pilot flying over the eaves and walking the wall, and in the small space, the iron pilot jumped up and down like a Superman. Damn! What the hell is this? I can't aim at all. Be careful, he's here. Save me, save me! The elusive iron pilot easily killed half of the guards. The other guards couldn't help but feel a chill behind their backs when they saw Taiyu's powerful combat power. In the prison, all the crew of the Qinghe fleet gathered at the door of the prison. Seeing that Taiyu almost crushed those Dark Elf warriors to death, even Lin Beihe couldn't help but take a deep breath. Whose subordinate is this, so fierce? In less than a moment, the pilots had killed all the Dark Elf warriors. At this time, other predators and pilots arrived one after another. A predator popped out the wrist blade in his hand, and with 3 strokes and 2 strokes, directly cut open the door of the prison in front of him. Seeing that the prison door was broken open, the crew of the Qinghe fleet still couldn't believe it. Are they saved? They were already ready to die. After all, let alone someone coming to this planet that doesn't poop, even if someone comes, it may not necessarily come to rescue them in a deep and dangerous way. But now, the appearance of these fully armed soldiers is like a divine soldier. Lin Beihe also stepped forward. Thank you for saving us. I would like to express my gratitude to you on behalf of Qinghe Star. I don't know, this warrior belongs to which fleet? Afterwards, as the Lord of Qinghe Star, I will definitely repay you well. With such a powerful warrior, only one person can crush several Dark Elf warriors. Could it be the army of a big man in the inner sea? The iron driver responded indifferently, we are a unit belonging to Lord Su-yan, and it is Lord Su-yan's order to rescue you. Su-yan? After traveling through Shanghai for so many years, why have you never heard of this person's name? Su-yan, I have written down this name, and I will definitely repay my life-saving grace when I return to Qinghe Star. Although it is not clear who this person called Su-yan is, who is holy. But the strength of these troops alone is enough to show the strength of this person. Whether it is these iron pilots or the predator, they are enough to take out the position of captain in his planetary army. The combat power of every predator and iron pilot can be called the elite among the elites. At this moment, one of the predator looked towards the exit. A creature is approaching. As soon as these words came out, thousands of crew members were also nervous. They are unarmed now, and if they fight for a while, they will have nothing to fight back. Two predators stood at the door, locking the metal gate with their backhands. In this case, you can also buy them some time to make tactical arrangements. The remaining predators are also protecting the safety of the crew of the Qinghe fleet. It seems that if you want to take these crew members to escape this pyramid, you will inevitably have to fight. The predators and pilots are also ready to fight. Boom! Suddenly, there was a loud bang. A huge bump appeared on the metal gate. After all the crew members of the Qinghe fleet saw this bulge, their hearts tightened. This metal gate is made of 10 cm steel. What kind of power can actually leave traces on this metal gate? After seeing this trace, the two predators also glanced at each other. It is now certain that the enemy behind the door is definitely not a dark elf warrior. The strength of those dark elf warriors is not enough to leave such a clear trace on this gate. Brush! Suddenly, a sharp blade pierced through the metal gate. After everyone saw this sharp blade, they could not help but frown slightly. Immediately afterwards, the sharp blade was slowly drawn out. Boom! The next second, in the gap opened by the sharp blade, a pair of sharp claws ripped open the metal gate directly from the middle. Hiss! An alien with a human body and a Zerg head sticks out a slender tongue. When the crew of the Qinghe fleet saw the terrifying appearance of this monster, their legs suddenly went soft. What kind of monster is this? Lin Beihe also felt a chill behind his back. He had been sailing in Shanghai for so many years. Never seen such a bizarre creature. It seems to be a combination of human and bug. Sharp claws and metal blades growing on both arms make it even more awesome. F***ck, what kind of monster is this Temo? I have been in the Sea of Stars for so many years, and I have never seen such a strange creature. Are those dark elves crazy? Researched such a monster? This is even scarier than the last monster we saw. Roar! Before he finished speaking, the Zerg alien suddenly erupted. The powerful force combined with the sharp claws directly shredded the metal iron gate. The next second, the Zerg alien rushed into the prison. But then, the predator, who had been waiting for a long time, attacked brazenly. The two blades exuding cold light fell directly. Puff! The Zerg alien was directly stabbed by the two ribs, and the two predator mercilessly waved their wrist blades. Brush! That Zerg alien was directly divided into two by two predator. The blood of the Zerg alien was scattered on the ground, which was extremely frightening. This scene not only frightened the crew of the Qinghe fleet, but also stunned the dark elf warriors behind the door. That is a Zerg alien that can tear the iron door by hand, so it was solved like this? Two predators stood at the door, majestic and awe-inspiring, like door gods. The two of them raised the wrist blades in their hands and slowly wiped off the Zerg blood on them. This time, the dark elf warrior on the opposite side was also afraid. Even that monster can't deal with these guys. Can the dark elf warriors alone really stop them? But at this time, even if they regret it, it is too late. The iron pilot had already come to them through the stealth device. Boom! 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 A series of gunshots rang out, and the battle officially started. Pilots hide around like ghosts, constantly reaping the lives of dark elf warriors. The predator confronted the enemy head-on, and the wrist blade in his hand directly turned into the sharpest weapon. The pulse knife was thrown at the intersection by a pilot. The next second, the dark elf warrior who was about to come over revealed his figure. The predator came to the intersection first, before waiting for the dark elf warriors to react. Several predators rushed out from the corner, killing all the dark elf fighters with lightning speed. At this time, the crew of the Qinghe fleet behind them also picked up the weapons of the dark elf warriors who were killed and joined the battle. For a time, gunfire erupted, and the entire laboratory fell into chaos. Seeing the surveillance footage, many Dark Elf warriors were killed, and the Dark Elf in the white coat in the command center also flashed a stern look. Release all those Zerg soldiers. But doctor, those Zerg soldiers haven't been domesticated yet. Do as I say. Almost roaring, Dr. Dark Elf let out a roar. The Dark Elf shrugged, and then pressed a button. For a time, the entire laboratory issued a harsh warning sound. Attention, Zerg soldiers are being released. Attention, Zerg soldiers are being released. Attention, Zerg soldiers are being released. Hiss. A large number of Zerg soldiers ran out of the laboratory. They are constructed from alien races and Zerg genes, and have extremely powerful strength and endurance. But the first time these Zerg soldiers appeared, was to kill all the surrounding Dark Elves. The Zerg soldiers who have not been domesticated have only the purest killing intent in their minds. At this time, the Predator also encountered another batch of Zerg soldiers. A large number of Zerg soldiers attacked one after another. Damn. These laser guns can't hurt them at all. What the hell are these creatures? I suspect that these are the things that the Dark Elves bred using the genes of the Zerg and other races. Zerg? Are the Dark Elves crazy? That thing is simply uncontrollable. F***K, fortunately we ran out, otherwise we would have to become that thing. Lin Beiha's expression was solemn, and now they could only pin their hopes on these Predator. At present, it is relatively easy for these Predator to deal with these Zerg soldiers. And at this time, they also saw the light of the exit. Is the export going out now? As long as you go out, everything is fine. At this moment, Lin Beiha seemed to see the dawn of hope. Thank you for watching Mystic Realms Recap. Please like, share and subscribe. Have a great day.